In 1955, a roughly 90-minute genre movie came out by a first-time director. It got negative reviews and was a flop at the box office, ending the director's career before it had really started. And yet, against all odds, this unassuming film has gone on to become one of the most influential movies of all time.
An old left-hand hate is down for the count.
You may not have seen it, but your favorite director probably has.
The movie contains some of the scariest things I've ever seen.
This is your favorite filmmaker's favorite film, The Night of the Hunter.
We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves.
Before we open our book of hymns, subscribe to StudioBinder and click the bell to stay up to date on all our videos. Get ready to get scared. The Night of the Hunter was directed by Charles Laughton, a celebrated character actor who had never before directed a movie. The screenplay, written by James Agee and based on a novel by Davis Grubb, follows two siblings as they try to escape the grasps of a preacher searching for money their deceased father hid.
This money here, we gotta hide it before they get to me. There's close to $10,000.
Although it bombed when it was initially released, the film is now widely regarded as one of the most visually striking and menacing movies ever made.
Well, the film's amazing, and then over the years, this film has just grown and grown and grown in stature.
I think it's one of the scariest films ever made.
It encapsulates the spirit of dread.
It isn't essential. You have to see it.
Night of the Hunter is just one of maybe the most important films.
So what makes Night of the Hunter so impactful? And why do filmmakers continue to draw inspiration from it today? The answer begins with the film's script. On its surface, Night of the Hunter is a simple story. Laughton called it a nightmarish sort of Mother Goose. It's clear who to root for and who the villain is.
I can feel myself getting awful mad.
This helps make the film an airtight thriller with a singular driving force behind it, the evil preacher. But there is also more to the straightforward story than meets the eye. Laughton and screenwriter James Agee subverted genre expectations at the time by making their villain a man of God.
Lord, you sure knowed what you was doing when you put me in this very cell at this very time.
Laughton was able to look at the Southern Gothic and find in this preacher that sang hymns and find the menace and the horror in those spiritual tunes.
The movie's structure, too, is deceptively complex, which also adds to the themes the film tackles. Handmaid's Tale novelist Margaret Atwood explains, the film has a double framework. It opens with Rachel, an older woman whom we later meet as a rescuer of stray children, invoking the world of bedtime stories and dreams. The next framework is a social one, the Depression, cause of the desperation that drives the film's initial robbery.
Where's your mom?
Out shopping. You're bleeding, Dad.
These frameworks both set the tone of the movie, while also emphasizing some of its primary concerns, such as innocence versus wickedness, and the dark underbelly of the American social fabric.
This is what I use on meddlers. John might be a meddler. Ah, no, little lamb, don't touch it. Now, don't touch my knife. That makes me mad. Makes me very, very mad.
The Night of the Hunter's cinematography, too, is the stuff of legend. Writer Francine Prose argues, if we were to measure a film's achievement purely on the basis of the depth and the indelibility with which it has engraved an image or images on our minds, the winner might well be Charles Laughton's The Night of the Hunter. Even Roger Deakins, who has said he doesn't prefer the cinematography of Hollywood's golden age, listed Night of the Hunter as one of the few films from the era that stays with him.
Shame on you, Ruby. Mooning around the house after that mad dog of a man.
To prepare for his inaugural directing job, Laughton studied silent movies, wanting to restore the power of silent films to talkies, leaning on striking visuals to set a mood. The film was shot by famed cinematographer Stanley Cortez, who also collaborated with Orson Welles on The Magnificent Ambersons. Together, Cortez and Laughton pulled heavily from the German Expressionist movement, relying on sharp angles and harsh shadows to build tension and fear. The result is undeniable. Film critic David Ehrenstein notes, "No one who has seen The Night of the Hunter has ever forgotten its images, like some ghastly pop-up storybook image suddenly coming to life." Ask 10 different directors their favorite visual from the movie, and you'll likely get 10 different answers.
I love that sequence when the two kids are on the boat and they're going down the river, and you have the close-up of the various animals and insects. The black and white photography is superb.
It contains some of the most lyrical and poetic images and passages in any genre film. The hair floating in the water, I've been trying to do that for 25 years.
It's impossible to talk about The Night of the Hunter without talking about the hunter himself. Robert Mitchum's turn as the preacher is unforgettable and massively influential on how actors approach larger-than-life villains. Mitchum's performance both embodies evil,
Children! Children!
while grounding the character into someone terrifyingly familiar.
By the sheer power of the performance of Robert Mitchum, with no real makeup, just the way he would look and throw his voice and his attitude, and it's outrageous. He's playing a character who's outrageous, that you would think of as a clown if you didn't know that he was so evil.
Robert Englund, the actor behind Freddy Krueger, discusses Mitchum's influence.
We know from the get-go, this is a sick puppy, a big, brutal, sick puppy. So we're not dealing with that element of surprise. He's coming. He almost oozes around door frames, and it's just an amazing, amazing performance.
Attention on performance came from the top.
I'm not a man. I'm not a beast.
Charles Laughton was a celebrated actor himself and prioritized getting the best out of his cast.
Go on, pull him out. Hold it, Billy. Get after him, Mitch.
He took a unique approach to filming scenes, slating only once at the beginning of a film reel and letting the camera roll until it ran out. This allowed him to work with his actors without having to wait for the camera to reset.
Just a minute, don't cut. Mitch, take a deep breath and run as long as you can. You haven't cut, have you?
No. Put the knife further away from you, Mitch.
And hold your head still and start.
The knife further away.
Knife further away from you, Mitch.
Boys are rolling.
Come on, the camera's still running. All right, Mitch, one deep breath.
Guillermo del Toro argues the power of the performances comes from the types of characters Laughton would play.
Charles Laughton is one of my favorite actors. His Hunchback of Notre Dame is the most moving because he understood this fragility and monstrosity at the same time, which are why his movie, his only movie, and a perfect first movie are made of such material, because he understood beauty and horror at the same time.
Once upon a time there was a pretty fly. He had a pretty wife, this pretty fly.
Nearly every element of The Night of the Hunter has been mimicked in other movies, as Todd Haynes notes.
It's been quoted and quoted, but it is an astonishment to watch every time.
Sometimes it's a hard world for little things. It's a hard world for little things.
Joel Cohen has claimed that when shooting True Grit, Night of the Hunter was always in the back of our minds. And its influence appears in many other Coen brothers movies, such as The Man Who Wasn't There and The Big Lebowski, where the dude's famous line is a reference to the final line of The Night of the Hunter.
The dude abides.
They abide and they endure.
Spike Lee directly quoted the film in Do the Right Thing.
In this film, Night of the Hunter, Robert Mitchum has love and hate tattooed on his fingers. So in my film, Do the Right Thing, there's a character named Ray Rahim has brass knuckles that says love and hate. In fact, he gives a speech, the same speech that Robert Mitchum gives about the battle between love and hate.
Hate. It was with this hand that Cain iced his brother.
It was with this left hand that old brother Cain struck the blow that laid his brother low.
These 5 fingers?
You see these fingers, dear hearts? These fingers has veins that run straight to the soul of man.
The story of life is this.
Now watch and I'll show you the story of life.
I mean, it looks like the right hand love is finished.
And it looks like love's a goner.
But hold on, stop the presses, the right hand's coming back.
Hot dog loves a winning. Yes, sirree.
Oh, left hand hate KO'd by love.
It's love that won. And old left hand hate is down for the count.
Charles Laughton may have only gotten to make one film, but the film he made has had more influence than most directors' entire careers. And regardless of impact, The Night of the Hunter still stands up on its own, terrifying audiences all these years later.
The Lord God Jehovah will guide my hand in vengeance.
Get started on your own cult classic with StudioBinder's pre-production software, which can help with everything from scheduling to storyboarding. And if you have a movie you'd like us to cover in this series, let us know in the comments.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
That's all for now. Right on.